Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn, and on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so that we can learn as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Graham Arrowsmith. He's the owner of Finely Fettled Limited, providing the UK high net worth database, marketing services, as well as AI solutions. So, Graham, it's great to have you on the show today. And I want to start off with asking you a question that I always love to start off with, and that is this. If you were able to basically start again today with knowing what you know, what would you do differently in your first 12 months?
That's a really good question. I think I would. I think I'd spend time focusing very much on a narrow niche, and I would research the bejesus. I'd research it really well, and effectively, then what I would do is I would be thinking about my value proposition. As much as I possibly, I'd narrow that down to that particular niche, and I would focus on that because I can always switch to a different complementary niche. Shall we say, my niche is 1 o'clock, I can move to 2 o'clock, and I can move to 3 o'clock. So basically, that's what I would do. I'd be very, very focused on a particular niche. I would be focused on my value proposition, and I'd be constantly refining it as well. And now in the age of AI solutions, Jason, we have the opportunity of doing that fairly quickly and with a certain amount of confidence that the information that you're getting is good.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I think we all hear a lot about fine tuning, niching down, but it's also what I found to be one of the hardest things for a lot of businesses because they feel like they're leaving a lot on the table, which, ironically, it's actually the opposite when you niche down. But what was the most challenging bit of you niching down in what you do?
When I first of all had a career in industry, so I worked in I've worked in a number of industries from the toy industry to cigarettes to postal services to data, and eventually I decided I've got to do I work for a printer, and then basically I decided I'm going to start my own business, and I realized really quickly that I had to be relevant to someone, and so it was almost like a necessity. So I didn't really want to work for anybody else because the only person I have to kind of sort of be responsible to is the guy that I see in the mirror every morning. And I think from that point of view, I wanted to be able to feel good about that. So choosing to niche pretty quickly kind of came out of circumstances, but I've always been cognizant of the fact that niches is that's where you can make money. So if you're relevant to a particular niche, and in my case, I try and find those people who are trying to market to the affluent. So they might be, say, for instance, an investment company who wants to find people who are prepared to invest in their particular offer. So it then becomes a conversation about how they want to communicate with that audience, how they want to get their message across, and I just help them either at the quite granular data side or maybe the campaign side as well. And that could be an email campaign, a direct mail campaign. And that's where I've got to say my heart lies. And then basically it could be a telephone campaign as well. So those are the three sort of main campaigns, but we're also able to sort of help them create custom audiences with meta services and so forth. So we adapt our services to the market. But recently, Jason, over the last sort of couple of years, I like many other people have looked at AI solutions, and I work with probably one of the leaders in conversion methodology, stretching right back to when sort of the internet started. And his name's Dr. Flint McLaughlin, his desire was to work out why people say yes. and his, shall we say, heuristics, the things that he's found out as to, these are the things that will be true now, but true in 1,000 years. These are the ways in which we organize campaigns to actually, or web pages, to make more sales, to make more positive actions.
Mm,
And that's the sort of thing that I've been involved with for the last couple of years. And so we're
yeah.
providing AI solutions based on his Mech Labs AI
Yeah.
platform.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. It's really interesting how you've kind of niched down in those different things as you move forward.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at you niche down, but obviously growing your business, what's been the hardest part of scaling without becoming salesy or spammy in what you do?
Um, Cobbler's shoes a little bit comes to mind, but basically, I think I would always advise people to follow up their leads, but I don't think I'm the very best at doing that myself. Um, I I have this and have had this point in my head that says, look, you are in charge of this business, and do you really want to spend your time chasing people? And I think the answer to that would be by brighter, better people. Oh, Graham, I think you should do. But in my head, if I create, shall we say, a compelling offer on my website, in the conversations that we have, I give you that best 30 minutes or so on the phone or whatever, or Zoom, then it's kind of, that's the best I've got. And if you're not convinced at that point, then why would I spend hours, following up, etc., after
Mm.
that point? Now, I'm sure some of your listeners will probably say, "Hey, but Graham, there's really good reasons to do that." I think there are, but for me, that's one of the challenges of scaling that I didn't want to have, um, and I didn't really want to employ other people to do that for me. Now I can do that up to a point, but the truth is, following people up is probably one of my Achilles heels. Um,
Mm.
but I do it, but often reluctantly, Jason. It's not one of the things that I would say I'm proud of. But the end of the day, I do try and find ways to actually put myself in a place where I can be found. So for 12 years or so, I've been running pretty much the same campaign on Google. And it doesn't cost me an awful lot of money because I've niched down to keywords that are absolutely relevant to me. And so there aren't that many competitors searching the same ones, a couple or so. But the point is, there are not that many. And I think because of the sort of shall we say, the weight of evidence that I have in this market, I get a regular set of people coming through. So I'm always pleased to hear from a new client, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating having that conversation, understanding their business and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, and I genuinely, I wake up and I just want to help them get what they want, because
Mm.
often, sometimes people present with a fairly wild idea that everything's going to be wonderful if I could just get certain data of people, and I've just got to help them a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not just about the data; it's about how
Yeah.
you use it.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting as well. I don't think you're the only person in that boat of follow up. I think it's one of the biggest things that a lot of companies have a challenge with. So, well, kind of, it's a little bit of a question, maybe same question on a different side of the coin. But what's one of the things that you changed in how you build relationships that have made sales feel easier for you?
That's a question. I would say I haven't overly changed anything. I think I've got a kind of an inquiring mind. Like you, I've run a podcast, and the podcast has been going for 10 years or so. So it's one of the longest running weekly business podcasts in the UK, for that matter, in the world, I guess. But at the end of the day, I, I I have this sort of thirst to understand what my guests want, just in the same way as you're doing,
Mm,
and to have it in a fun environment and so forth. The
yeah.
podcast is called The Next 100 Days. But to answer the question, I think it's to do with having that curiosity pretty much at the front of the mind, but also having a fairly clear idea of what the right way is to convert interest into the next step, which would be another meeting or something where you're going to deliver a solution, at least on paper, or something of that nature. So
Mm,
I try to make the best out of everybody that gets in touch with me. And I try to over deliver right at the beginning, because I think at that point, well, I've nothing to lose. I'm not trying to hold back anything. If they take it and then go and work with another partner, then, good luck to them. But for me, they'll always, and I've had this over, 10, 12 years. I've had this where people circle, they call it circle back now, don't they? But they just come, it's a bit like on a, oh yeah, do you remember me from a year ago, 2 years ago? Yeah.
yeah.
But, had I followed them up, maybe they'd have gone with me, but, they came back to me eventually. So I think it's keeping curiosity really close to it and having a bit of fun as well. I am me.
Yeah.
I'm not a corporate. I'm a small business. And I'll give you my best foot forward. But also, I will also be straight with you. I'm a Yorkshireman, Scottish mother, so I don't like wasting money. But so you'll get a good deal. But the important thing is that I just want to get you to the place that you want to get to, and it's that enthusiasm and that curiosity and that desire to do well for you right at the beginning that usually keeps people close to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it. It's interesting because what you're saying, I think, is what most people want to do in business, but they just don't seem to actually implement it. So it's great to hear you're actually doing that on a regular basis.
I don't know if you have any other choice, Jason. When people call you up, they've got something in mind.
Mm,
They've probably now they've probably now it could be an LLM citation that we've been found for, and we're spending a lot of time on our web pages right now, um, looking at answer engine optimization. In 2028, I believe that ChatGPT will actually give more answers than Google. And
mm,
that's a big shift. And so we're getting ahead of the curve. In fact, we actually offer answer engine optimization with a colleague who is part of the overall Mech Labs guild. And effectively, it's a brilliant way to find out where you are. And it's
mm,
frankly for the price of a prawn cocktail. So, you can get it done really quickly.
yeah,
But the important thing is that when we say do these things, we have an AI agent built into the offer, so you can
mm,
actually. So I'm not quite sure I know you're saying do this, but how do I do it? And it'll
yeah,
make it simple for you. So
yeah, yeah.
it's an amazing way. Everybody needs to be able to do this, because this is a big change. And if you recognize that that change is coming, then the first thing you want to do is to find out where you are now, because you can always talk about where you want to get to. Now, we found out where we were, and now what we're doing is building into our websites all the things that we know that will likely get us cited. And I know it happens because people tell me already that they found us on Charter, they found us on Perplexity or something. So that's a good
Mm,
sign. But I want to do even more on that and find other
yeah.
niches that might come my way as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. No, and I love hearing your growth or your ideas behind how you want to grow. Which I'll actually ask you this just very briefly before we come to an end here. What are your goals over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years in your business? What would you like to achieve?
Well, without being too obvious, I've reached an age where basically the next 3 years is probably getting towards the outer limit. So basically, I think I'm looking for a brilliant last 3 years, maybe 4 years, and if my wife allows me 5 years, and basically, and at that moment, I will probably be looking to um, put the business into somebody else's hands in some way. Now, that
Mm,
doesn't mean to say I'm about to sell it. I want to bring on the people that work with me. So there may
yeah,
be other ways of actually handling that. But
yeah,
that's my goal is to build a business that is completely relevant, that has a really good chance of keeping going for some time. And then, selfish me, I just want a little bit of a return from it on a monthly basis, but allow somebody else to make a lot of money from it as well.
yeah. I love that. I love that, man. Well, Graham, for people that are looking to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can contact me on Finely Fettled. That's FETTLED .co.uk. Or you can try the other website. It's a lot easier to remember, and it's called microyes.ai. And you can find it kind of works both ways. Microyes AI solutions and Finely Fettled, the data and the campaigns and AI solutions. And we can go into a lot more depth there. But I'd love to hear from people, and I'll be very happy to help anybody that wants to market to the affluent or look at ways in which you can use AI to improve your business.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I definitely recommend everyone checking out Graham on those different sites that he just gave. Graham, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your pearls of wisdom and insights throughout the course of your business. And as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn on LinkedIn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.